My name is Kunj. I'm the CEO here at Inside.com. Really happy to have you guys. We've been doing Conversations Cafe for the last 4 years. Usually it's in a Hard Rock Cafe or a social, and there's a beautiful decor and there's a lot of good food around and all those sorts of things. I'm going to make you guys jealous. I think a lot of your seniors are going to make you jealous about how the term is actually on a physical campus. But in keeping with things and how unfortunate things are, we are going to make the best of a bad thing and hopefully give you a great experience here as well. Guys, to begin with, what is Conversations Cafe? Guys, we believe that in life some things are too important. It's not always okay to just wing it. It's not okay to I'll figure it out. It's sometimes better to go and the B school life and the journey that you're going to go through next 2 years is that important that you need to have a plan. You need to have a before you enter your B school. With that in mind, we are some of our top recruiters to come and interact with you. And they start with a recruiter that is our closest recruiters, is one of our closest friends, Aditya Birla Group, marquee recruiter on so many campuses, and having interacted with them over the last years and having seen the kind of work some of the people at Aditya Birla Group are doing, I can tell you that place to start your career with, and we wouldn't have found a better partner to start Conversations Cafe online this year with. So I welcome the team of the Birla Group, and shortly I will be introducing them. To begin, I just want to tell you how this flow is going to go. All of you been selected from a large number of students who went through the videos of all the ABGLP stars and their journeys, and some really insightful questions. My team and the ABG team have been working hard over the last week, sorting through all your questions and just trying to figure out, okay, what are some of the questions that we can answer and help you guys. A lot of questions around COVID, a lot of questions around how online recruitment is going to happen this year, a lot of questions around how different industries that ABG as a general conglomerate works in is get impacted because of COVID. And essentially questions around what do you guys need to do to be selected at ABG. So we'll tell those questions. Uh, with this, I'm going to welcome the team from ABG. To begin with, we have the YTM team with us. We have Kaustav Bhattacharya, who's a dear friend and who's been working with us since the last couple of years. Kaustav, AVP and the EA to the CEO at Birla Carbon. He heads Young Talent Management at Aditya Birla Group. So he's the head of the Aditya Birla Group Leadership Program. With him, we have Shoma, who's the campus hiring and engagement head Aditya Birla Group. She looks after the ABGLP program, and we also got Bhavna, who looks after the engineering program. With we have two stars with us whose videos I've watched over the last couple of months. We've got Anujan. Anujan is the head of strategy and insurance at Aditya Birla Group Health Insurance, and we've got Sania Malim, who HR at Hindalco, one of the prime companies of Aditya Birla Group. She's a TIS alumna as well. So I welcome all you guys to Conversations Cafe online. The numbers are fast filling up. Lots of people are coming in. Just want to let you guys know about, as far as the decorum is concerned, please ensure that you guys are on mute at all times, but please keep cameras on. We want to see your smiling faces. We want to see your reactions to the things that we are saying. And also, please feel free to use the chat feature with abandon. Don't worry. This is not a lecture, so you don't need to be quiet throughout. Please tell us how your reactions for a variety of things that we are going to discuss in. So freely, please just answer things or talk in the chat section. It will get us to know what are the things that you guys are able to relate to. What are the things that we can do better. And one thing, please download the campus app. You will find a feedback form at the end of this session on that app. When you fill up the feedback form is when we will send you your participation certificates for these sessions. Please give feedback. It will help us learn and serve you guys better. You guys just entering campus. There are plenty of things lined up for you guys over the next couple of years that we will be doing on the app along with recruiter partners like ABG. So please sign up on the app and give us feedback so that we can. With that, without further much ado, and the fact that we don't have a lot of time, I'm going to go straight to Anujan with the first question. We are going to first talk to the two ABGLP stars that we have. Then we will go to the YTM team with for questions that are more immediate, guys, which is around selection procedure, roles, etc. Anujan, hi. It's been a pleasure talking to you in the past, and we are here and happy to have this conversation with you. You know, great. So one of the first questions that I want to ask you is that how is health insurance evolving in a modern risk-averse India? From here on, post-COVID, do you think these are good signs for the insurance sector?
So there are interesting observations. So first, how you say that we are risk averse, so which is actually apt on in terms of, given the predominance in terms of, delaying health insurance or insurance products as much as we can. So to this young audience that I can, suggest that, take insurance policy as possible and, check with your parents or your that they have. So yes, this pandemic is health is suddenly very important. We all are, stuck in the four corridors, four walls. So yes, it has pushed in terms of, what the products are. It is just going to change. The products are going to become more affordable, more customized. And so yes, so regulator is looking in terms of, what the products are going to be. So yes, so I see a lot of change that's coming through only because of, COVID.
Right. So if you could take me through what has been the immediate impact that you've seen in health insurance in the last couple of months since the lockdown has come?
There are two parts to it. One is the regulator push and how we have prepared into it. So I'll take the regulator angle. So the regulator has been working closely with us in terms of designing a COVID coverage. So you will be seeing the news in terms of because the increase, right? So they are pushing COVID product hospitalizations can be affordable. Because you hear news in terms of a hospital charging 16 lakhs, 17 lakhs worth of for COVID treatment. So that's a good part in terms of regulator is actually giving us more support in terms of second thing in terms of how we are preparing is specific product for COVID, and off late, for the past 3 months, we have seriously seen an uptake in terms of, a COVID specific product. Of course, our health insurance product is also, picking up speed, especially the digital channel. So we are taking measures in terms of, how we ensure that, all our advisors who resort to, physical meetings, etc., we can get them onto like a digital journey so that, they can have a conversation with their prospects, with their customers. We have made that available. We have actually upgraded our applications, our core applications, so that it can be seamless. We have used cloud-based systems to make the data in terms of so that the speed is there. Of course, because the agents are on the higher age bracket, it takes a little bit of time to get them adapt to it. But we have seen immense progress because necessity is mother of all invention, right? So we have seen this that they are willing to partake in terms of digital adoption. So that's actually working wonders for us in terms of how the agents are taking it up.
Right. Anujan, one of the most striking lines that you said in the video that we interviewed for, you had said that health insurance is where the moolah is, and investment banking is a thing of the past. Now we are looking at students who often join B schools with the objective of getting into investment banking, and you're telling them that the more exciting sector is insurance. In light of all that has happened, how do you think this market is going to grow, and why do you have the strong belief that insurance is where the fun is?
So simple. So our population is 1.35 billion, right? And the health insurance penetration is paltry 0.75%. I mean, life is still a little better in terms of having like a single digit though, 6-7%. But health insurance is 0.35%, and so that's where the whole opportunity is. And given the fact that the whole technology piece coming together, the analytics piece, because insurance is one segment where it's big, the bigger the pool, the better, right? I'm not saying that investment banking is not where the future is, but in investment banking also you see a lot of insurance being, privatized, mergers and acquisitions happening. So I would give a quick case for the young audience here. Go check in terms of, what Lemonade does in the US, what Oscar Health does in the US. So they have brilliant models in terms of, entire technology. So in my previous batches, like 5 years back, in my school, I hardly had any insurance cases. I don't know what's the reality here, right? I hope it has changed, but insurance is considered to be like a stepbrother. I mean, even if we consider like banking, financial securities, and insurance, right? Financial services and insurance, right? So that and is a bit of a misnomer, right? So so you make 100 rupees and you invest and then you make money. So there is a whole value chain to it, right? How do you get your pool? So how do you make sure that the pool that you are taking is worth the risk taking? How do you invest? Where do you invest the pool? Right? How do you make money out of your investment profit? So there are two profits here, right? One is underwriting profit, one is investment profit. So it is a huge science. It is actuarial science. It is operations. So it is actually a symphony, right? Investment banking, yes, it is great. It is a career, but here you are making an art in terms of because you are predicting the future, right? I mean, you have to resort to analytics. You have to resort to claims perspectives. You have to understand hospitals, how they charge, their patterns, etc. And then at the end of the day, you have to make money, and which is heavily regulated, right? I mean, we have strictly regulated in terms of the securities that we invest in, the bonds that we invest in. So that's the whole thing, and it comes together to create a symphony.
Right. Anujan, it brings me to the next point, which is, one of the hottest fields today is data analytics. Everybody's talking about data analytics. People who don't understand data analytics are also talking about it. And then there is that added layer of artificial intelligence on top of it, which is even more obfuscated and even more people are talking about it. And there are just so many experts around. What is the role of data analytics in your insurance sector specifically today, and how has that evolved in your time at ABG? And generally, what are the trends that you see around data analytics in different businesses?
So glad that you brought it up, that people don't understand how data analytics are talking. So right now, as we speak, I am heading like an artificial intelligence team with our two people who are into data science background in my team, right? So, okay, so couple of things. Data analytics has always been there. So yes, the hype is recent, but the entire modeling, the actuarial model, there are a lot of synergies if you ask in terms of how the actuarial models are built around. So one of the core things that we take is because insurance, especially institutional sales, which covers employer employee, or a simple product which can come into your Paytm, right? You do a transactions. You are shown a health insurance product and you buy it. It's that simple. But there is immense level of data that is being generated, right? So we have to know in terms of first pattern, in terms of who our customers are, okay, what the demographics is, what their credit card spends is, etc. So one of the quick parts that we tell you is, say for example, we cover Aditya Birla Group as an insurance, right? So as a quick basis, in terms of depending on their tax declaration, we are able to figure out in terms of how many people already have their own health insurance plan, retail health insurance plan, not that the company provided. So we got that figure to be 43%, 45%, which is great, right? In certain companies, it's as less as. But because given we are financial sector, it's 45%. Now we are going back to the organizations that, hey, 45% of your people already have a retail benefits, which is lifelong, right? As long as you keep paying the premium, it's continuing. So can we give them value benefits in terms of, so these are the tweaks. These are some of the changes that, you can make so that, the cost outgo. Because honestly, if I go and ask Aditya Birla Group itself, my own company, right, my own conglomerate, to give me like say 50 crores of premium, they are going to shut me out, right? In the market, there are going to be competitors who are going to give like a 40 crore premium. So that's where the challenge is. So how do we extract value? And insurance on a daily basis, we generate 100 TB of data in terms of claims, in terms of the data, in terms of the audience, in terms of the age, because there are only four matters that matter to us: age, the gender, the benefits, and the sum insured, right? That's all. So how do you make all of this come together. It depends how fast you can turn around, how quickly is your analytics strength, and what are your digital capabilities. So analytics is way ahead. It has already been used, but yes, it's taking its own sweet course in insurance industry.
Right. So, Anujan, now a couple of questions I want to ask you around your journey at ABG. My first question is actually, and this is something that a lot of students would want to know about, is that, uh, you know, what kind of a person do I need to be selected by ABG? Like, what are the things that I need to be doing? What are the skills that I need to be exhibiting? What kind of an approach do I need to have around life to get into ABG? According to you, in your experience, whatever selection procedure you've done, you've yourself done hiring. So, what are the kind of things that an ABG guy looks for?
First of all, okay. So on a lighter note, you have to be extremely lucky and fortunate to be even considered for ABG. But overall, in my experience, and Kaustav can add, and Sania, of course, can add in terms of her HR experience. But you have to show versatility, right? When I say that, people, because especially when I am hiring, when what I look forward to in terms of hiring ABGLPs who are coming in for internship, etc. What I look for in them is, yes, academics is important, but it will only lead you to the opportunity. But what you make out of that opportunity is shown by the versatility. So have you done internships? Have you done internships cross functional? Okay, have you tried to upskill yourself in the past 3-4 months? Yes, you are doing MBA, but I honestly believe that you need to have two careers, especially in these times, which uncertain times. I am a musician, so I also have like that an alternate. I mean, it's not an alternate profession, but I hope it does become two. You need to build yourself to have like multiple careers in this time, right? So that
Right.
that shows versatility. So versatility is like, say for example, if you get 99% in IIT Kanpur, or a grade point average of 8.5 in IIT. So yes, so those matter, but how different are you from, because there are 100 people who are going to be on the same lines, right, with ABG. So one of the key factors that I believe that ABG looks after is how versatile you are in terms of the overall perspective, how great, how humble you are. I mean, that's one of the key metrics in terms of you can't just walk in saying that I am from IITs and I am Ahmedabad. Here's my candidature and just sign. So you have to
Right.
be grateful. You have to always learn, because people above you who have reached that level have also passed that journey. So you need to have always that, maintain that kind of a respect, because this is ABGLPs is not new, right? We have years and years of experience from the same batches who have learned their trick and trade. So you have to show them that level of humility. So that's versatility and humility is something that, I would certainly think that, that ranks top.
Okay. Anuj, thanks a lot. I'm going to come back to you in a bit. I'm going to now shift to Sanya and ask her similar questions, because COVID is so top of the mind for everyone, and it really does impact HR in a big way. So, a few students have asked us, how is your work as an HR, as someone who's also who's currently working in a plant, how has your work gotten impacted because of COVID, and what are the larger adjustments you see HR making around the COVID impact?
Thank you, Kunj. So, there's actually COVID has actually transformed our lives in which we are not imagined. So, when the pandemic struck, where people started working from home, for us being in a manufacturing sector, it was not possible, to just shut shop and say that, okay, we're going to work from home tomorrow. So, our operations continued. And I think something which was of prime importance for us was the safety and well-being of our employees. So a lot of things we did, and I think HR played a key role there. So I think a couple of things I would like to mention. One is we formed a lot of task forces. So these task forces focused on constant communication, crisis management, business continuity. The second thing I would say is that we focused a lot on the safety of our employees. So in terms of whatever sanitization, the buses that they travel, ensuring social distancing on the shop floor and the punch gates and the canteen, and whether they're using masks. So all this played a very pivotal role in the COVID control while we kept our operations on. And I think the third thing also was we had to do a lot of change in the ways of working. So we had to have staggered shift timings. So like in my We moved from 3 shifts to 2 shifts, and we reduced the number of manpower which was working. And so all these changes had to be done in view of COVID. We had to go contactless. So in a factory, you typically have a biometric punching. So we had to stop doing that so that people don't touch any surfaces. So a lot of changes happened around that. And while these were things that we kept doing to ensure safety, at the same time, I think we also had to take care of the engagement and morale of the employees. So I think a couple of things which really worked for us is constant communication with the employees. So there had to be constant communication, whether it was through digital town halls, whether it was on the shop floor, or whether through WhatsApp groups. We kept communicating with the employees so that we also had a two-way dialogue.
Right.
I think it was also essential to keep appreciating employees, because these were like our front end warriors actually coming to work daily and to ensure that our operations continue. So I think these are a couple of changes that we look.
Right. Sanya, one of the questions that a lot of people considering HR ask, and it's not something that is like enough literature around that is not out there, is that what's the typical day like in the life of an HR manager? You can tell me specifically from the plant's point of view, but generally also what is a typical day like? What gives you a kick on a day-to-day basis to turn up and do your job well?
So I would say, like from an HR perspective, no 2 days are same. So every day you have something new, some different kind of a challenge coming up, and so that really keeps you going. I mean, that's something which really gives me a kick, because I know that every day when I go to work, there's going to be something new waiting for me. And in a typical day, I would say that maybe like 40 to 50% of your time is spent interacting with people. So it's more about, understanding your stakeholders. You're interacting with various stakeholders, right from the management at the top level to your front end employees, irrespective of the business. So a lot of time is spent there understanding your stakeholders, probably understanding their problems, helping them find a solution, and also help to deliver some kind of solutions that they require for their immediate needs. So I think a major chunk of time is spent there, and that's also an opportunity for you to learn and get to know more about your people. I would say another, say 20-30% of your time is spent thinking about more in terms of the future capability building for the organization. So whether it's around culture, whether it's around talent. So you're thinking about, what is that your business is moving in which direction, and how do you need to support your business. So that's another key aspect where you end up spending your time. And I think the third thing would definitely be around execution of your routine processes. So
Right.
you have a lot of processes and policies in place, but to actually employees to experience those processes uniformly and have a good journey, you need to ensure that these are, they experience them uniformly. So that's another chunk where you spend your time. And since I also work in a factory, a considerable amount of time also goes on connecting with people on the shop floor, connecting with the union members, getting a pulse of what is happening. So, you can be more proactive in your approach rather than waiting for something to happen and then take a reactive approach.
Okay, Sana, I'm going to put you in a spot now. A lot of people always tend to talk about what they like the most about human resources, but we also want to know from you, among all the things that you get to do, what are the things you like the most, and also the things that you like the least about working in human resources?
Okay, so I think I'll take the one which says what I like the most first. So what I like the most is that it gives me an opportunity to meet different people. So I keep getting to learn something new. I'm interacting with so many people, and also whatever work I'm doing is going to impact the people. And I believe personally that people are the differential asset for any organization. So I'm happy that through my job, I'm able to make a difference to these people, whether it's around their development or their growth or any other issues related to them. In terms of what I don't like, I would say that generally people have this perception that HR jobs are made for sympathy and tea. Or most famous thing about these schools is that HR jobs is all about arranging rangoli competitions and some other events. So I think that's something which I really don't like, that perception. And I think it's very important as HR folks for us to understand business and talk the language of business so that you can actually build that credibility for yourself.
Right. No, it's interesting you say that, Sanya. But tell me, you've been at ABG for quite some time now. What has been the toughest part of your journey so far at ABG, and what do you recall of it, and how did you come out of it? What did you learn from it as well?
Okay. Um, so, uh, so I would say that the toughest point for me was, I think I would relate it to a career choice that I made. So it was about, accepting this role to head HR for this factory. I was in a dilemma when this role was offered to me, and there were a couple of reasons which actually led to that. One, I mean, as part of the HRLP program, for 2 years you do a factory, but here, I mean, I had to take a decision to stay in a factory for a longer time, where I knew all my other peers would be moving to a corporate role. I would be stuck in a remote location. Second thing was, I was very young, just 2.5 years in the organization, and it was a big responsibility to take up as being the head of HR. So I always had that doubt that what if I fail? It's going to be a big dent in my career early on. And also it was that I was also representing a larger group, so it was about giving a responsibility to a young person. So if I'm not able to deliver, it's going to be an image where people wouldn't want to probably take risk with young people. So it was really a tough choice for me to make just 2.5 years into the organization. But I think that today when I look back, I feel very proud of the decision that I made. And I mean, the past 2 years in this role have been like an immense learning experience for me. A couple of things when I reflect back, which really stand out for me is that I think we need to be willing to take a risk. So we need to have that courage to give up on certainties. I know there's a lot of fear when we have to take big decisions or when we're faced with tough situations, but I think we need to start taking up those responsibilities and I think it's very important to be driven by your own purpose and values. So, if I want to do something, why do I want to do it? And, what value is going to be adding to me and where am I going towards? So I think these things are really important when you're faced with any kind of tough situation. And I think you also need to be agile. So I think that's a big buzzword today where I think that you have to be curious, you have to be open to new experiences and faced with any kind of situation. And I think that's really going to help you to make a right choice.
Sanya, talking of tough situations, we are in the midst of one right now. A lot of professionals are facing, possibilities that their companies will see downsizing. As an HR manager, how do you maintain an employee well-being and, the downsizing situation? Because a lot of businesses are suffering. I mean, let's face it, it's not anybody's fault, but it's sometimes downsizing is the best thing to do. Uh, in that context, what are the things that you picked up in your time as an HR at ABG, and how do you think HR professionals, should deal with these kinds of situations?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I think that's a very valid point. Like with the current scenario, and a lot of companies are facing a lot of crisis, and whenever you face such economic crisis, the first thing is that you look at cost cutting because ultimately you want to keep the business afloat and you want to sustain. So and when you look at cost cutting, a large chunk of your fixed cost are employee costs. So it's but natural to have a tendency to go towards them. So I would look at it in two ways. So like you said, I think first thing businesses really need to question themselves and ask that, do you really need to lay off employees? So I would say that, laying off employees or downsizing should be a last resort or a last strategy for any business. Maybe there are a couple of other options that businesses could explore and which couple of industries are doing right now is whether you can manage with, not giving salary increases or your variable pays or maybe cutting down the salaries across the organization or controlling some other costs maybe involved in hiring or travel. So in this
Right.
probably you could control a little bit of your downsizing. And I think something which is very essential for organizations right now is they need to look at all their activities and kind of bucket it into the must haves and things which they can stop doing as well as a cost control measure. That's
Right.
an approach, definitely. And in sectors where they have to lay off, so like we all are hearing about sectors like airline and hospitality, there there is no option. The businesses have to survive. They have to downsize. So in that case, I think businesses have to be more responsible in the way they execute the entire process. So they have to be very open with the people. The right kind of communication has to go down. I think companies and leaders have to be more empathetic in the way they deal with the situation. So Just to quote an example, like Airbnb and Grab, they have really been appreciated for the way that they have dealt with the entire process of laying off people, the kind of support, the kind of outplacement services they have provided. So, I would say that it's a very tight rope where you have to balance business at one end and people on the other. So, I think organizations really have to be more responsible and be driven by their values, because one more thing which really matters is how you're dealing with this situation and how you're taking care of your people is also reflecting your brand to the larger audience, and it's actually giving a view into your organization's value and systems as well.
Sure. Sanya, let's come to this one point and then I'll go back to Anujan for a couple of questions. ABG recently celebrated, and this has been pointed out by one of the students, that it recently celebrated the International Women in Engineering Day. Felicitated a lot of women working at Hindalco. Traditionally, the industry has been unkind to women, and not a lot of people have been hired. But clearly, ABG is trying to change that. What are some of the other women empowerment activities that you see that keep on going on at ABG and at Hindalco?
Okay. So that's like listening from the horse's mouth about women empowerment. So so we do a lot of stuff in terms of women empowerment in ABG. So we have something called as WOW, World of Women. It's our internal network of women employees where we connect, collaborate, and learn from each other. If I talk specifically about manufacturing, I mean the International Engineering Day. So this year, the graduate engineer trainees that we hired from engineering campuses, we have targetedly hired more than 50% women. And when we're bringing in women onto the shop floor and manufacturing areas, which traditionally, not considered to be where women work, we're also ensuring that we're building in the right kind of infrastructure. So whether it's related to safety of women employees, whether it is not just working in the day shifts, but across the multiple shifts, including the night shift, ensuring their safety. Other infrastructure which is required is available in the factories, and there are a lot of policies in ABG which support, whether it is related to your travel or even in terms of maternity, where we have additional benefits like women can travel with their kids, they're up to 2-year-old. So even in remote locations, we ensure we're providing quality daycare centers. So a lot of infrastructure facilities support in terms of policies is provided. And also we focus a lot on development of women. We ensure that we take care of their careers, they get the right mentors. And so I would like to mention 2 specific programs that ABG has. One is something we call as ONUS. This ONUS is something that is focused on the young entry-level women, on their development and growth. And similarly, we have something called a Springboard, which is focused more on building a leadership pipeline of women employees. So I would say that overall, we do a lot in terms of empowerment of women. And another important aspect is also the managers with which they work. So we ensure that they are sensitized in how they have to, interact with the women employee, understand the women employees. So I think, we do a lot of stuff where women empowerment is concerned, and we have equal opportunities, and nowhere have I faced that any situation where, because of my gender, I haven't got any support or any opportunity. So that's one very, very good thing about ABG.
Right. Thanks, Anya. Anujan, I just want to come back to you, and this is a question for actually both of you. So both of you can answer one after the other. You talked about what gets you into ABG. Anujan, you were talking about diversity and integrity and those kinds of things. What helps you perform really well at ABG? Once you've gotten into ABG, what are the skills that ABG really values, and you've moved up fast in the organization as well? So what has been the secret to that? What are the things that students will learn to imbibe in themselves so that they can be rewarded once they join ABG?
Yeah, sure. So growth is subjective in terms of, but the younger you are, the more exposure in terms of, different functions, different projects is very, very critical. Never stay in your comfort zone. So I've been extremely fortunate that, I started work in Aditya Birla Health Insurance when it was in the licensing stage. So we had not even commenced business. So that was a huge exposure. I deliberately wanted to get into it, right? Because I knew that, I'm going to be part of a startup. So a startup system in terms of, a huge conglomerate, which was a worthwhile effort. So the only thing that I would say is that, never rest in your past laurels, right? Even if you have achieved something today, that especially in sales, it is so true that, because this quarter, the last quarter, I did not perform really well because, of your COVID situation, etc. But this quarter target I've already achieved in the first month itself. So there are highs and there are lows, right? So, but you never can rest assured. So you always need to be constantly imagining things or creating opportunities which never exist. So, for example, we are working with this food tech company who want to monetize their customer base by providing health insurance, right? So, can we do that in terms of, can we offer a simple dental insurance for people who are ordering desserts after 8 p.m.? Like, is that possible? So yes, so we are working on those kind of ideas which were actually not existent, or probably never existed in your mind. So the only thing that I would say is never rest comfortable. You always need to upskill. So I have done my course in data analytics and artificial intelligence because I knew that I'm going to be leading a team of data scientists, like 2 of them. So I need to at least, not in the functional expertise way, but I need to at least talk their language in terms of what they would want, or what they are trying to communicate to me to make sense. So yeah, so that's important.
That's a brilliant product idea, Anujan. Health insurance, dental insurance for people who have desserts after 8 p.m. I'm definitely buying that insurance for sure. Same question to you, Sanya. What are your thoughts about how to do well at ABG?
Yeah, so I think I would just like to add to what Anujan spoke. He very aptly put it that you need to be very curious. You need to be open to new experiences because ABG is a conglomerate. You have a variety of options available, right? So you have to be curious and you have to have that thing in you that, okay, I want to learn more. I want to explore more, whether it is different sectors or whether it is in the same business. I think that's something which is very important. Second thing which I would like to add is also your ability to lead. So I would say it's more about, when I say that, it's more about your ability to connect with people, your ability to work well along with teams. So you're going to work with diverse teams, when I say diverse, across age groups, across different locations. So your ability to connect with these teams and collaborate and, to actually deliver an impact, that is something which really matters. And I think, like Anujan very nicely put it, your ability to think out of the box. So how can you come up with something which has never been done and, just create a new idea? So I think these things really matter when you have to grow in ABG. And yeah, lastly, most important, be authentic yourself, the person you are.
Right. All right. Thanks, guys, for providing these insights. I'm now going to move to the, as they say in cricket, the business end of the innings. I'm going to ask a few questions to the YTM team, which is there with us. We've got Kaustav and Shoma and Bhavna with us. So I'm going to ask them a few questions. A lot of students have asked a lot of questions around selection criteria, hiring numbers. What is the plan this year? How are you going to hire us? You're not going to come on campus. How are you going to conduct group discussions? There are a lot of insecurities, anxieties around that. Absolutely understandable. Going to reach out to these guys now and talk about these things.
So Kunj, before you begin, just for you, I not only managed to get Shoma and Bhavna, but I have my entire team on call. So I'd like to introduce Arwa and Avande to everyone else who's on call today. So guys, Arwa looks after the year 1 for the ABGLP program. So year 1 is a year when everyone goes on stints, different projects, different businesses, different locations. She's entirely responsible for that. Avande looks after careers, learning and development. In a prior experience, she used to look after year 1, but now she's moved on and she's looking after learning, development, training programs, and careers, movements, roles, etc. So we have the full team, Kunj, just for you.
Wonderful. Thanks a lot, Kaustav. Appreciate it. And yeah, the booming voice you just heard is Kaustav, guys. And we are going to ask the first question to Kaustav. We're quickly going to put him in the spot and ask him, Kaustav, what is the hiring plan this year? How much are your plans gotten impacted because of COVID, and how do you see them panning out in the coming year?
All right. So let's not beat around the bush on this one. If anyone tells you that their hiring plan has not been impacted, I don't think they're being entirely honest about that, right? I'd be a lot more candid with my words, but I do notice that I'm being recorded right now. Uh, so guys, the thing is, this is an unprecedented situation, right? The economy is running, but it's not running. The global trade market is running, but it's not running. It's going in fits and starts. It's starting, stopping, starting, stopping. And that's not just in any sector. That's, I would say, pretty much universally across. And right now we find ourselves in a tough position because we are neither very export dominated, nor are we completely driven by domestic consumption. As an economy, we're a bit of both, and both have been hit. Right, China has the advantage that they were transitioning from an export-led to trying to develop a consumption-led. So they were in that sort of phase. We've been hit badly by both, and India, as most of you may know, is driven primarily by infrastructure and the commodity cycle, which is in the toilet right now. So at ABGLP, we recruit to suit the business needs. What I mean by that is, eventually, after your first year of training, the objective is to place you in a full-time role with a business, right? So I have to recruit basis what manpower needs the business is forecasting, or the businesses of the group are forecasting. So numbers are impacted. There's no getting away from that. Numbers are impacted. How severely they're impacted, I don't know. Time will tell, but it will definitely be, my sense is the batch of 2021 will certainly be a smaller batch than that of 2020, certainly be a smaller batch than that of 2019.
Sure. Kaustav, the MBA experience is known for what it gives on campus to the students, the peer learning, the kind of activities they get to do on campus. The entire experience for a lot of freshers is the first time they're going to live away from home in a hostel as well. Now, these things are not going to be a part of the MBA experience, at least in the first term. Do you expect that the kind of talent that these B schools usually brought into a company like ABG, will there be a diminished quality of talent that is coming in? Are you worried about that? What can students do to compensate for the lack of these interactions right now?
Yeah, so guys, let me be very clear about one thing, okay? This is the only country in the world where to do an analyst level job, you need an MBA. Everywhere else in the world, the bachelor's degree is sufficient, right? So I just look at the MBA as a weeding out process, nothing more, right? If individuals are benefited enough to actually learn something during those 2 years, that's great. But by and large, the amount of pressure you're under, the timelines you're under, you're not absorbing or learning anything. You're just producing output and trying to demonstrate how quickly, how efficiently, and how well you can produce output, quality output, in limited time frame and under tough circumstances. So effectively, what am I recruiting at the end of an MBA? Can you call yourselves a finance expert? No. Can you call yourselves an HR expert? No. Does it have the same subject matter depth that an MS in finance would offer? No. That an MA in HR would offer? No. That a PhD in a subject would offer? No. So I'm just recruiting someone who's demonstrated a certain set of soft skills, certain set of capabilities. So I don't think that not being on campus will change who you guys are. Right. In fact, it may make things a little more difficult because at least when you're on campus, right, you're all miserable together. You're all unhappy and suffering together. Now you guys are stuck at home, right, with your families, your siblings, who may or may not understand or may not have already gone through what you're going through. So at that same point, they won't understand why you're up at 4 a.m. doing what it is you're doing, why you're sleeping weird hours, why you're eating weird hours, and that'll make things even more difficult. They'll appreciate and respect you for it, but they may not understand why you're doing it, right? And it's not like you guys can just go and complain about, or galifowl like a professor together who's being very crappy about something, right? Because you're ultimately separated. So I think this will make the experience a lot more challenging. It is my sincere belief that being miserable alone is a lot harder than being miserable together. So I don't think it's going to make that much of an impact, right? And who knows, this could be the first big step in a massive paradigm shift we're seeing.
Right. Kaustav, what does it take to impress the YTM team? if I am a guy who's in his first year in MBA, he's got a couple of months before summer placements hit. What's it going to take? How can I prepare to impress the YTM team come summer placements?
First off, to address your question, you said if I'm a guy. Okay. Now, the one thing I've noticed on campus is the girls are anyway more and more impressive. In GD's, discussions, they're more aggressive, more impressive. That's just been a anecdotal observation. I'm not sure why, but that, guys, you have something to live up to, huh? All of you guys out there. But for me, what do I look for? It's hard to actually nail down to say it's A, B, or C, right? For me, what keeps me, or what separates one person from the other, is their ability to stand out. Now, standing out, it could be for anything. It could be because they come across a certain way. It could be because they have a certain depth of work experience, or they have a certain depth of experience, or because they've read a lot, or because they just speak well. But there has to be something that you differentiate yourself by. Because you have to remember, once you're at an IIM, right, you're differentiated from the rest of the pack by the fact that you're at an IIM, but you're not differentiated, from the other guys who are already at the IIM with you. Does that make sense? It's like once you get into, let's say, Harvard Business School, sure, you're better than 99% of the guys out there because you have HBS on your resume. But once you're in Harvard, you're at the same, it's a level playing field again, all over again. So you have to find something that differentiates you from your peers. And you have to play to your strengths. If you have a genuine interest in something, chase it. Don't try to be who you think the recruiter wants you to be. Be who you are. And if the recruiter doesn't like who you are, find one that likes who you are. Because I guarantee you should go to an organization that values you rather than you valuing what they seem to, or what some belief of what you think you should value. That's just a recipe for misery. Trust me on that. It's not a happy way to go. And, I'm not saying this because without experience, I have worked as an investment banker prior to this. I have worked at a Big Four advisory firm prior to this. I have worked overseas in the US, in Far East Asia. So I'm telling you this with some experience behind it.
Right. I want to bring in Shoma here. Shoma, I wanted to ask you about, the ABG LP program. Like, what is the genesis of the ABG LP program? Why does it exist? There are like so many companies in ABG. They can all hire individually as per their requirements. What is the essential thought behind the ABG LP program? And, hence, if students can know, what is it different? How is it different compared to other programs that the group companies might have?
Well, thank you, Kunj. I think it's a very valid question that you asked. In fact, I saw in the chat box, there are a lot of people who are asking us about, what's the CA program? How is it different from ABGLP program and things like that. So to begin with, I think all our businesses also have their individual recruitment processes across campuses. But I think the top B schools is generally what we cater to, the top IIMs and campuses like ISB, XLRI, Jamshedpur. So we have a set of campuses that we go to. It's available on our website, so everybody on the call can, have a look at that. I think one important thing about the ABG LP program, which probably differentiates or, gives an edge to us over other business programs would be the visibility that one has to the senior management. So being, having the opportunity to be mentored by our senior leaders, getting opportunities to interact with them on a regular basis, being reviewed by them. We always follow a constant instant feedback process. So getting the feedback on a regular basis to improvise on their, day-to-day work, that's, I think, an edge which the ABGLP program provides. So right. Visibility to leadership I would say would be the top thing. And other than that, so the ABGLP program, just to give you a brief structure of it, it's divided into general management program and also functional programs, which is the HR leadership program and also the finance leadership program. So some of these CA enthusiasts who have joined us today, the FLP program is particularly for the top 50 CA rankers as per the All India ICAI rank list, which is released every year. So we hire twice a year, especially once when the exams are over. There's a 2-3 month gap when companies generally start the formal placement process with ICAI or otherwise. So we conduct our individual recruitment process. It's a series of rounds similar to the ABGLP program, but then the hiring criteria is of course a little different.
Right.
So yeah, so that's pretty much the gamut of the ABGLP program.
Sure. Soma, there's one more question, and it's again in the context of this year. How is the selection procedure going to change? How are you going to do these selections online? People look so like there are so many people who are wearing ties in this session today who are wearing shorts niche. So the entire idea of a placement process, a placement week has completely changed. So how is your process hence going to change to select these people?
Kunj, to be very honest, I think the basics of the program is not going to change. So whenever we go to campus, we go with a panel of assessors, which include the best in class, industry leaders from ABG across the various group businesses. So I think what we primarily look for is, one's ability to think on feet, be aware of what's happening around you. If there's a situation being given to you to analyze, having that perspective and situational awareness, apart from, having a leadership and executive presence. So these are like very, basic competencies or skills which one looks for. Apart from that, I think there has been a shift in the paradigm of the recruitment process per se across all companies. So in a pre-COVID world, probably I think the supply for jobs was on a higher side, where there were multiple recruiters, old and mature, new age startups, aggregators, and there were only very limited students available on campus. So when I remember this one time when I had gone to IIM Calcutta to hire, and we eventually could meet only 8 students in the final round of interview, whereas we had shortlisted about 25. So that is how fast the people move out. There are so many companies, it's like about 50 to 60 on day one when we go to these campuses, which is the general management slot. So having said that, I think in a post-COVID world, the paradigm is gradually shifting towards more of supply in terms of the students from campuses, and less of demand, because all the companies, as you were aware, and as Kaustav and everybody in the call rightly mentioned, is facing an issue with their EBITDA, their financial statements. So I think the recruitment this year is going to be tougher, because we want to optimize our costs and hire the best talent for the limited roles that we have to offer. So the competition is just going to be a little bit more tougher, in this particular year. So primarily we have multiple rounds of elimination. So the first one is, an online assessment. It's a gamified simulation that we conduct. But prior to that, this year, we are planning to, have maybe one more round of shortlisting before we, roll out the assessments across campuses.
Sure.
And other than that, I think we have a regular GD and PI process in a regular year. But this year, we would be having an alternate process for the GD, because the process is digital.
Right. All right. We have time for one last question, and I'm going to come back to Kaustav for that. This is an overall question, Kaustav. Every single person who's in this call right now is going to a top B school. They are all extremely ambitious people, want to become CEOs of companies one day. They are all entering their B school, and they're going to prepare in the next 2 years to maybe one day come into ABGLP and wow you guys. What are the things that they should be doing right now, and what are the things that habits that need to be forming right now to ensure that they are seen as CEO material, and they are getting those kinds of opportunities with companies like ABG?
Read. That would be one of my first. It doesn't matter what you read, just read a lot of it. If you like history, read it. If you like philosophy, read it. If you like political science, read it. But start reading something that even fiction's okay. But my point is just read as much as you can, especially on those three things: economics, philosophy, political science, history. Because ultimately, most authors in these fields, historical autobiographies, stuff like that, they are trying to prove a point, right? They are coming to you with a perspective and they're providing a book's worth of evidence, which is a summary of their research to make you believe that perspective. The more you do that, the better you will get at doing the same thing. And
Right.
developing a point of view, being able to express it concisely, clearly, and eloquently while supporting it with sufficient evidence to convince people around you in what you're saying is extremely important. So I would say that is one thing I just don't see enough of. I see too many people with high scores with no content. Right? They can't hold a conversation about, because, and I don't blame them, because you guys are under so much pressure, so much time crunch. The question becomes when do I do this? Right? When do I read? When do I find the time to read? I barely have time to sleep or eat or do any of that stuff. But the point is, you're going to have to make it a chore. Read 10 pages every day. Eventually, you get through past 100 days, you've got 1,000. Right? And remember one thing, with any books that you read for fun to better yourself, sit with a highlighter and a pencil and highlight the living crap out of that book. Right? Highlight stuff that's important. It'll stay with you then. Right? I don't care if it's going to make the book look messy afterwards, but just take that. The other thing is, how can you guys separate yourselves? To be very honest, it's a question of luck and circumstance. There is no other way to put it, because you have to know that statistically speaking, there are fewer company CEO positions in this country than there are people on this call, right? Or people on the number of calls that Kunj is organizing. So if you look at it that way, statistically, not everyone on this call is going to be a CEO or CXO, and that's just a fact, right? So much of those dreams of, I can be a professional, this and this, but no, taking a company chances. Statistically, it's as good or as bad, right, of getting somewhere. So a lot of it's luck, being in the right place at the right time, and finding a balance that you're happy with. But in terms of how we look at careers, I'll just ask Avande to share some of her thoughts on how we look at careers, how we look at moving people through the ranks. Avande?
She'll have to be unmuted. So, Paul, if you could please do that.
Hi, yeah, thanks, Coach, for unmuting me. Thank you, Costa, for asking me to share something on the careers. I think that's important. Unfortunately, I can't start my video, but I'm anyway going to talk to all of you. So careers for us, you guys, when you join us as ABJLPs, it is not just another employment. For us, careers means taking you through and through, to the next level and to the next level. Our vision for the program in general is to make next generation leaders out of all of you. So we do look at career pathing. We do look at how we can give you as many exposures as we can, whether it is you growing in a specialist field, which is, let's say you want to be a sales, in the sales domain, how do I get you different sales experiences? Or if you want to be in general management, how can I move you from one role to the other so that you can get enough exposure to be a general manager? So for us, it's very clear and charted out. So to say, you don't come in just as anyone and then you fall into the regular pool of employees. For us, ABJLPs become part of the work we do, and we look at careers to see how we can grow you as leaders and give you enough exposures and experiences so that you can build onto that as a portfolio. So yeah, that's actually in short how we look at careers. If you have any questions for that, I'm happy to take on that.
All right. So, guys, what we are going to do now is that because we are running out of time, chat is open for you guys. I think Anujan and Sanya and Shoma have been answering questions there. I think Avande also has been, Arva has also been answering questions there. So you can write in with questions there. We'll keep this chat, this call on for another 3-4 minutes. But with this, we are coming to an end with Conversations Cafe Online Part 1 with ABG. We have another session lined up at 12 with the other cohort of students that have been shortlisted. I just want to say to the students who have attended this session that I hope you guys learned how a large organization like ABG works. What are the kind of things it's going to take for you guys in the coming couple of years to make it and do well in a company like ABG. I think Anujan and Sanya have brought in a lot of perspective on that. And I appreciate Kaustav and team for bringing in perspective in terms of how the hiring happens and how are they looking at the coming couple of years. Thank you so much for coming in, guys. Just one last thing, please fill in the feedback form on the campus app. Download the campus app if you haven't yet. Fill up the feedback form. You will find it in the polls section on the app. It will be called Conversations Cafe Online Aditya Birla Group poll. So please take that poll so that we know how you felt about the session and we can do better next time. Also, this will ensure that we can send in your participation certificates. One last thing that I want to talk to you about is that, guys, please understand that each of you have made it here because you asked interesting questions. You put in the effort to understand about ABG, watch the videos, and give a unique flavor of your own to ABG. The ones who've been chatting on the Zoom chat, we appreciate your questions, your inputs, and each of you has been noticed. We've noted the kind of questions you've been asking and the perspectives that you've been bringing in. So we really appreciate your time and the effort that you guys have put in. With that, we're going to end the session here, but we'll keep the chat open for the next 2-3 minutes for you guys to continue asking questions. Thank you so much. Cheers. Bye.